Every winter, the village of Winter Hollow waited for the same quiet miracle. Not the snowfall, not the lights, not even the carolers who wandered the streets in scarves as long as their patience. They waited for the snow globe maker. No one knew his name. No one knew where he lived. He simply appeared every December, carrying a wooden trunk filled with snow globes that shimmered like captured starlight. People whispered that he didn't make them with glass and water, but with memories, frozen inside tiny worlds. One Christmas Eve, a 12-year-old girl named Elara wandered through the village square, hugging her coat tight. It was her first Christmas without her father, and the world felt heavier, quieter, like snow that refused to melt. She saw him then, sitting on a bench dusted with fresh snow, the snow globe maker, his beard silver, his eyes warm and impossibly kind. "Lost something, child?" he asked gently. "Someone," she whispered. He nodded, as if he had expected that answer. Without a word, he opened his wooden trunk. Inside were dozens of snow globes, each glowing softly from within. He chose one, a small globe with a wooden cabin, a pine tree, and swirling golden snow. "This one is yours," he said. "But I didn't order anything," Elara replied. "You don't order what you need," he said with a smile. "You simply find it when the time is right." Elara held the globe, expecting cold glass. But it was warm, almost alive. She shook it gently, and the world around her shifted. She found herself standing inside the globe, on crisp snow beneath a sky full of stars. Ahead of her was the tiny wooden cabin. A warm light flickered inside. She stepped forward, heart pounding. She opened the door. There, sitting in a chair beside the fire, was her father, young, smiling, whole. "Dad?" She didn't speak, but his eyes said everything. "I'm proud of you. I'm with you. Keep going." The warmth of the moment wrapped around her like a familiar blanket. When she blinked, she was back in the village square, snowflakes drifting softly around her. But something inside her had changed. The ache was still there, but lighter, gentler, like snow that finally began to melt. The snow globe maker stood, his eyes shining like winter stars. "Why did you show me that?" she asked. "Because grief is love that has nowhere to go. Tonight, yours found its way home." Before she could reply, he closed his trunk. A breeze swept through the square. When Elara looked up, he was gone. All that remained were soft footprints in the snow and the warm glow of the snow globe in her hands. That Christmas Eve, Ilara walked home through Winter Hollow with steady steps and a steadier heart. Some magic, she realized, doesn't change the world. It changes you. On the edge of Winterbridge, where the snow piled high like soft pillows and every rooftop twinkled with lights, lived a young woman named Lyra. This Christmas would be her first one alone. No family nearby, no parties to rush to, just the quiet hum of her tiny cottage and the whisper of snow drifting past her window. On Christmas Eve, Lyra stepped outside to breathe in the cold night air. The whole town glowed softly, but her little doorstep felt dim compared to the joy she remembered from years past. As she turned to go back inside, she noticed something resting on her porch. A lantern, small, old-fashioned, gold, with ruby red glass, and definitely not hers. The moment she touched the lantern, the flickered to life, spilling warm light onto the snow. A voice, gentle as falling flakes, whispered, "Light is meant to be shared." Before Lyra could react, the lantern lifted from her hands and floated toward the dark, narrow street behind her house. Heart thudding, she followed. The lantern glided gracefully, stopping in front of her elderly neighbor's home, the one everyone thought was empty for the holidays. Lyra hesitated, then knocked. The door opened a crack, revealing Mrs. Elder, wrapped in a blanket, alone and surprised to see company. I thought everyone was away," she said softly. "So did I," Lyra replied. They shared tea. They shared stories. They shared quiet laughter that felt warmer than any fire. When Lyra stood to leave, the lantern glowed once more and drifted back outside. It wasn't finished yet. She followed it through the snowy streets to a widower shoveling alone, to a teenager crying on a park bench, to a young mother trying to fix a broken string of lights on her porch. Each time, the lantern paused and Lyra stepped forward. A helping hand, a listening ear, a moment of warmth. And each time something changed, softly, beautifully. By the time the lantern guided her back home, the shy dawn of Christmas morning had begun to rise. Lyra looked around. Her once quiet street was alive. People she'd visited and others they'd gone on to help were now gathered outside, talking, laughing, holding candles, stringing lights between houses. Mrs. Alder hugged Lyra tightly. "You brought us together," she whispered. But Lyra shook her head. She hadn't. The lantern had. Except when she looked for it, it was gone. In its place, resting on her doorstep, was a tiny note glowing with gold. "Light is not found. It's made. And tonight, you made it." Lyra pressed the note to her heart, her eyes shimmering like frost catching sunrise. For the first time all winter, she didn't feel alone. She felt home. Long ago, in a village called Winter Hollow, there lived a quiet young woman named Elka. She was known for weaving the warmest scarves and shawls in all the valley. soft as clouds, strong as oak roots. But Elka possessed a secret few knew. She didn't weave with wool. She wove with memories. Whenever someone came to her with aching hearts, she asked them to share a cherished memory, just one, a moment that had shaped them, warmed them, or made them better. And from that memory, a single silver thread would appear in her palm. She would weave it into something new. One bitter winter, a wealthy merchant arrived in Winter Hollow. He wore rings on every finger, gold on his coat, and a scowl carved deep into his face. He demanded the finest cloak Elka could make. "I can pay more gold than this village sees in a year," he boasted. Elka nodded politely. "Then tell me a memory you treasure." The merchant frowned. "I don't have time for nonsense. Just make the cloak." But Elka shook her head. "No memory, no thread. No thread, no cloak." The merchant grumbled, insulted, but after hours of Elka's silence, he finally spoke. "When I was a boy, my mother would sit at the window every morning, humming as she brushed my hair. She died before I grew old enough to remember her voice without trying." A single silver thread glimmered between Elka's fingers. The merchant stared, stunned, as if the memory had warmed him from the inside. Elka wove throughout the night. Her loom hummed like soft wind chimes, each memory thread glowing faintly. When she finished, she held up a cloak that shimmered like dawn frost. The merchant touched it, and something in him broke open, not painfully, softly. That night, he found himself humming the same tune his mother used to hum. He hadn't realized he still remembered it. The next morning, he tried to pay Elka double, triple, but she stepped back and shook her head. "I don't weave for gold. I weave so people remember what truly warms them." The merchant rode away without another word, but he was not the same man. Those who met him on his journey home said he smiled more, listened more, gave more. As for Winter Hollow, the villagers say that when the first snow falls each year, you can sometimes hear Elka's loom humming through the trees. A reminder that warmth doesn't come from the cloak on your back, but the memory in your heart.